This is Gorkamorka, the game that forever cemented kit bashing in every wargamer's vocabulary for generations to come. It's a game that's been forever loved by its community, and despite the fact that, according to its creator, it was a rushed job scrambled together in no time, and it only lived for about 6 months, this game changed the trajectory for Games Workshop forever. The tale of Gorkamorka isn't just another short-lived endeavor in Games Workshop's vast catalog of dead titles. No, it is actually more a story of what happened at Games Workshop the end times of the last millennia, when hubris and unreasonable expectations on a goofy, maybe even misplaced and rushed spin-off game almost led Games Workshop to ruin, and how an unexpected savior arrived in the last hour to save Games Workshop and thus avoided ultimate failure and the demise of the company. Background. In the fall of 1997, Games Workshop released the tabletop skirmish game Gorkamorka. It's set in the desert world of Angelis, somewhere in the universe of Warhammer 40,000. And it's all about orcs. At its core, it's basically a mashup of Warhammer 40k and Mad Max. Thankfully, without a single sign of Space Marines anywhere. In the game, you take control of a group of warriors with the objective of collecting wealth and experience. The game is based on the second edition of Warhammer 40k. The rules themselves were quite similar to Necromunda, but with extra vehicle rules as well as an extensive campaign system.
Most of it was basically from taking the Necromunda rules, which I knew very well, had worked well because second edition 40k made a good skirmish game.
A rewritten, rushed job made in about 8 weeks, where you had little to no time for perfection or to rewrite stuff as they went along.
So you said about 8 weeks was your working time until you had to have the finished thing ready to be sent to designers and stuff for layout.
Yes. Yeah. It was the fastest game I ever had to write, of like 8 weeks of sort of like primary work on it, which was madness, sheer madness at the time. It's not like I had to write the entire thing end to end, just most of it.
But Gorkamorka was released during the winter of 1997, perfectly in time for a Christmas shopping spree, and the game was massively advertised. They even changed the name of White Dwarf to White Orc. And for what the game was, a spin-off with orcs burning tires, guns blazing, wrestling each other out. It was widely popular among wargamers around the world, but it was far from long-lived. After a mere 6 months, the game was officially not supported by Games Workshop anymore. And after a full year, well, you were probably lucky if you could find the game in your store. There's nothing different or fancy about that, right? Games Workshop does that all the time. You have games like Cursed City, Blackstone Fortress, Aeronautica, Space Marine, they've all had the same fate, as these smaller titles are often seen as just a quick cash injection into the world of Space Marines without you having to buy an entire army.
We always felt, certainly around the studio, we felt quite strongly among the designers that it was good to have games like that around, which didn't mean that you had to commit to buying a big army straight away and painting it, which was particularly a thing with Warhammer, and still kind of a thing with 40k as well. But this is why things like Necromunda were ideal, because it was actually a relatively low commitment to get into the game initially. And sure, you could expand afterwards and get a bigger team or more teams or whatever.
But this was an unusually fast demise, and there's a reason for it. To understand why, we must first look into the reason why this game was made in the first place. And the more you look into this story, the more confused you get.
Oh, hey, boss. Yeah? Here we go!
Let's talk about something that I am so passionate about, is having side projects and hobbies, and you want to be able to showcase those hobbies somewhere online. And the absolutely easiest way to do that is through Squarespace. You can either use one of their amazing looking templates to create your own website to showcase that thing that you are making. And maybe you tried Squarespace a few years ago and you forgot about how good it was, but You thought maybe it wasn't for me. But you know what? Right now it is, because
they have developed something as cool as the design intelligence. It will show you and guide you through the entire process, and it's combining 2 decades of knowledge
with artificial intelligence, Lucas. And you know what? I think this is the time. This is your time, guys, to go to squarespace.com. Try to build your own website. Make it as cool as you possibly can. Showcase that thing of yours online. And when you're ready to launch, you go to squarespace.com/Squidmar. Maybe even enter the code Squidmar if you come to that place, and you get 10% off your entire purchase of a website and a domain. The evolution of Games Workshop. In the mid and late 90s, Games Workshop had a massive overhaul in the top dog department. The company took some massive steps from being that small company with a couple of friends making board games in wood to being the massive international behemoth that they are today. A few years after the original founders were bought out from the company, a new business strategy led to a flotation of the company via venture capitalists. This was a substantial change in the business culture that naturally birthed a hunt for growth, as of course promised to the shareholders, which in its turn led to a completely new way of leading the company forward. More mandate was given to that of the sales team as opposed to the design team, especially regarding which games were to be released and when. Another thing that happened during this time is how Games Workshop bought up a lot of the subcontractors, like the miniature production and manufacturing, to keep everything under the same roof. Now you're asking, what does this have to do with Gorkamorka? Well, there's a lot more to it. One could even say that Gorkamorka was the first experiment with this new way of doing things. The drama that killed it. Initially, Gorkamorka wasn't even meant to be, because leading up to Christmas 1997, there was another game that they had been working on for over a year. That was War Master, a fantasy version of the epic 40k game. However, when the 3rd edition of Warhammer 40k Epic was released, it completely tanked. The interest for the game was gone, which in its turn made the sales department get super cold feet and pulling the plug on War Master that they had been working on and planning for over a year. Instead of a fantasy version of Epic, they decided that they wanted to release something in 28mm scale and something based in the 40k universe. And it needed to come out before Christmas. After some wrestling between the executives, sales directors, and the design department, Games Workshop HQ came up with the idea of Gorkamorka. And what did this entail for the design team? Well, it meant that a year's worth of work in the design department on War Master was just scrapped. And in a matter of months, they had to, from just the idea pitch of Gorkamorka, design an entire game.
And to a large extent in the 90s, there was a struggle going on between those two powers, except one of them was a power and one of them wasn't. Retail was a power and it became more so. You know, we got pushed more and more into what retail wanted, needed to be done. And it's an ongoing debate. There's no right and wrong to it.
Find balance.
You have to find a balance between the two, because yes, you're right. Yes, they're right as well.
And as Andy Chambers said, Gorkamorka was nothing but a rushed job. Not to say that the game was bad, the fans loved it.
My experience tells me that nearly every game benefits from more time. But yeah, I've always preferred developing over maybe a year, if possible.
You see, at this time, Games Workshop wasn't just all about making fun minis and fun games. No, as we said before, the company had grown massively and wanted to grow even more. Back then, Games Workshop were already massive in Europe, but to reach those growth goals, they needed to grow as well outside of the UK. North America, Australia, and Central Europe would be the main ones. The solution? Well, someone decided that Gorkamorka was that battling ram that you needed to make it big in all of those countries. And it was time with Gorkamorka to put a brand new business strategy into the game. And the company needed this Christmas release to perform incredibly well. And Gorkamorka was the only option available, as they had scrapped War Master. Everywhere it was hyped as the next big thing for the company, and massive amounts of resources was put into the project. So with that, Gorkamorka was produced into massive numbers and in multiple different languages, meaning that Games Workshop had to go through costly processes of translating it to German, French, Spanish, among others. Because this game was surely meant to make it big in all of Europe. And success was the only option. Even a video game for Gorkamorka was set into production for Windows and Sega Dreamcast. But the game was completely scrapped shortly after Sega Dreamcast went into the shitters. And guess what? That success that Games Workshop had hoped for never came. Especially not in those crazy fantasy numbers that the sales department had dreamed of. Meaning that the ridiculous amount of copies that had produced in various amounts of different languages were now just collecting dust in warehouses, costing the company a ton of money, maybe even debt, and definitely money in terms of storage costs, leading to redundancies as well as a stock price drop. It is quite sad considering the fact that maybe if the game would have just been treated as the specialist game that it was, it would probably have been seen as a success and maybe enjoyed by the community for a much longer time, and with that led more people into the hobby. And as an orc connoisseur, I hate to admit that you can really tell that some of these minis were incredibly rushed. The design of some of these minis are really some of the funkiest, I feel like, in the late 90s to early 2000s era. The Diganobs just look weird to me. And the orcs are, breaks my heart to say, but the orcs are probably my least favorite orcs in Warhammer history. With the exception of the metal minis that came about a half year later, where the sculptors had had more time. The Spanners and the Slaver being a good example of that actually being good minis. Fading growth. The years after Gorkamorka did not end up the way Games Workshop had originally planned. And while it's not fair to put all the blame on Gorkamorka, the debt to independent retailers as well as the massive amount of unsold copies, especially in various different languages, did not help to turn the numbers around. And the end of Games Workshop seemed to draw closer. But then, a knight in shining armor came riding in to aid the struggling company. Or should I say, a white wizard came riding. Of course, I'm talking about Lord of the Rings. As part of the promotion for the 2001 release of Lord of the Rings, Games Workshop acquired the rights to release a 25mm scale miniatures war game. And it's no exaggeration to say that Games Workshop, as it is today, would probably not be with us if it wasn't for Lord of the Rings. The Middle-earth strategy game was a massive success and pretty much solely lifted Games Workshop numbers back on track again. And as I said, Gorkamorka wasn't the only reason why Games Workshop numbers were dwindling. But as we talked with Andy, and he admitted,
fairly rightly, the conclusion that was drawn from it was that, right, we're just doing 40k, Warhammer, and Lord of the Rings. And that was it. No more side games, no more nothing. You know, we managed to squeeze out Inquisitor and Battlefleet Gothic before the gate came down completely.
It is definitely one of the biggest reasons why Games Workshop completely had to change their strategy and things didn't go to plan in the late 90s. But it is also safe to say that thanks to Gorkamorka, Games Workshop put way more effort into their mainline games such as Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40k and grew those to a scale that we probably wouldn't have seen today. And despite of what we think of some of the decisions made today, I would think it's safe to say that the company definitely seems to be more in the know of what to do with their business today than they did 25 years ago. It is also clear that Gorkamorka didn't sell as much as they had expected, but it did sell a ton. And the game is still wildly popular.
People look back on it really fondly. They still play it. You know, there's little Facebook groups for Gorkamorka and all this kind of stuff. So, I guess it was a good thing overall. Yeah.
Gorkamorka today. Much like with Mordheim or Hero Quest, the game isn't completely dead. There's a lot of people keeping the pulse of the game going, with Facebook groups in various countries, with Discord chats and fan communities. People still find time for their love for Gorkamorka. One example is this unnamed Gorkamorka site, which is still somewhat active with its last update at July 30th 2024. And one last thing that I want to take away from this, if we wouldn't have had Gorkamorka and the redesign of the orcs to make them more serious again, especially with the metal minis for Gorkamorka, we wouldn't have seen that complete revamp of the orcs in the 3rd edition of Warhammer 40k, and the orcs wouldn't look as amazing as they do today. So just for that, I think Gorkamorka deserves even more love than it has from its core fans that has loved Gorkamorka throughout the years. Andy, we are so grateful that you wanted to be part of this video. Is there something that you would like to plug for our viewers?
Yeah, I'm working on a new tabletop miniatures game called Xenogenesis, which is a large armored suits fighting each other, anime mecha, kind of think like Dreadnought sized and up for 40k miniatures. Very dynamic play. That's on GameFound. You can also look us up at besthobby.com. Best Hobby, GameFound, Xenogenesis.
I hope you guys learned something. If you guys want to help support this channel and make sure that we can continue making videos like this, smashing like on videos where you feel like you get something out from them is the by far best way to get the video spread out to new people. If you want to support us even more, you can check out our Patreon, or even better yet, you can find the paint set that we curated together with Vallejo, where we teach you guys more on how to paint like we do, and you get to use the exact same paints that we do to get the most from your experience learning from us. Also, massive thanks to this week's sponsor, Squarespace. And lastly, of course, our Patreon. Never forgotten. You guys are legends. Now have a good day. Peace out.